Good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode 6 of How Not to Become a YouTube Creator. We have our broom mop stick, my ventilator, and my cheap LED stripes here, and a just blank wall, which is, not good. Um, that was a intense weekend. I apologize for my appearance. I almost had a shower and I was messing with my hair, but then I stopped myself because like say, hey, dude, what are you doing? You know, you don't want to look neat. You don't want to pretend. So I'm not. So I'm sorry that I look better than I used to in the last episodes. I don't know, as I have no script, no idea what we're gonna do today. There's a lot of things that we could talk about, mainly about cats and cat videos, which I'm gonna bring up anyway. The elections, yeah, the elections were annoying because now the really, really bad guy is in the second turn, and he may win this shit even if the majority. Well, it's a weird thing, right, about majorities and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. It's just like frustrating, you know. So like why even bother to engage and vote and debate and have conversations with people and try to educate them. Um, I had an interesting conversation with a British guy who like works for the government. Um, and well, we talked about different topics, but one topic then was should there be process for people to qualify for voting? That's an interesting topic because obviously the first thing that pops in it, no, like freedom and everybody should have a vote, right? But what about all these stupid people? We all, even the non-stupid educated people, have a problem. So let's say you're a super intelligent guy and you're very well educated, you went to Harvard and whatever, and then you have to make a decision. So what is that decision based on? The decision will always be based on the information that you have, right? Or at least let's assume that we are rational people, or some of us are. But if you don't have the full information, so whatever decision you make would be the wrong decision, right? Um, and most governments rule in secrecy, and this is going on for a long time. It's everywhere, all over the world is like this. So we only know what they want us to know, like the statements and press conferences, but we don't know really what's going on. We don't know who has a side contract with somebody else or with another company. We know that most of the laws are written by lobbyists or lawyers. We know that most of parliament members are in some way or another corrupt. That's true all over the world. So it's really hard. So like, why vote? But if you vote and if you are interested, there are still, it takes some effort, but there are still ways to get information that is not mainstream media publicly available. And then obviously you never take that for granted. Then you do your own research, and that takes time and effort, and you have to be somehow dedicated. But then you can reach a conclusion. So the way we were educated, we're talking about my brother and my friends, and obviously we went all to the same school. One of the first things that I remember as a kid when I entered the school, that they told us not to believe anything ever. And it was weird. It was like, hey, teacher, you're telling us that, you know, this and that, and you're writing it on the whiteboard, and we have to copy it, and then you're going to test us on that. And I said, yeah, sure, we do that because we believe what we're teaching you. But if you do your own research and you prove us wrong, then you're good. And I tested that a couple of years later, and it was a fight, but it worked. So I proved a professor wrong by doing my own research on a silly topic, but it doesn't matter. It was out of principle. Well, so that's how I was educated. It's like, don't believe anything. And I might mention I was educated by Jesuits in a boarding school. Obviously, you know, you might think that it's all like very strict Catholic regime, and it is, but, and I have to give them credit for that, all my Jesuit educators, they always were very open and free to debate, and they would always, and we were kids, but they would always, at least my experience, I don't know about everybody, give us a chance to make our point and prove us wrong. But sometimes we prove them wrong. And that's the spirit, that you're open to that. That's what it should be like. It should not be red team versus blue team versus yellow team. It should be, okay, let's all sit together. We all have an opinion. I hate opinions. Obviously, I have opinions, but I try not to have. I try to have facts and conclusions. And then we talk about, and then we decide rationally, not by, you know, any belief system or ideology. So we decide, okay, but we want to build a road. What do we need? Do we need a Bible to build the road? Or do we need a truck? Or do we need workers? And so on. What, you know, be rational. And now you go anywhere in the world, in any lounge, bar, airport, train station, subway station, and everybody will have an opinion, and they will think that they know, and that's the worst thing. So I have an opinion, but I know it's an opinion, and I'm completely open at any time, anybody to challenge me and, you know, convince me otherwise. But the real problem is that most people, they are not open. They have an opinion, and the opinion that they have, that's so important because that's all they have. They know that they haven't thought it through. They know that they didn't do any research. They know that they don't know anything about any topic, the history, the details, nothing. But they have the opinion. And once they express that, they cannot go back on the opinion. They will literally fight you over their opinion because that's how they define themselves. And it's a kind of stupid, non-intellectual vanity, right? Vanity itself is like ridiculous and stupid. But this is like I picked something up on any news on the TV or magazine or from another person, and I gonna repeat that now. I don't know what I'm talking about. Because all these people, they are voting, right? They have a right to vote, and a lot of them do. And they are so easy manipulated. All these generic politician speeches, They're all the same, always the same, blah, blah, blah. They never answer a question. Oh, that's a good question, but the question you should have asking is this, blah, blah, blah. And obviously, some people see immediately through that, through the bullshit, but most of the people say, oh my God, he's such a good speaker. And oh, she is like, oh, she's for this. I support her, you know, but they don't really know anything. Um, and that's, I think, so that was the, sorry, so I was talking to that guy who works for the government, and we talked about like, should everybody have the right to vote? And there are pros and cons. One cons obviously is like, so you start this, and then there would be the next step, should everybody has the right to drive? And then I said, yeah, well, you see, we already have a system, like you make a test, and if you do well in the test, then you have the right to drive. And then after some years, we'll check if you're still fit. And the same is for airplanes and, you know, a lot of things. Not all the regulations and things are good. There's for sure a lot of things that are over regulated. But it's for the, let's say, the common interest, that at least some critical things are, let's say, tested. So I think, yes, there should be a test before you have, yeah, you get like, I don't know, a paper or something. Oh yeah, I passed the test, so therefore I'm allowed to vote, right? There are already groups of people in many countries that are not allowed to vote. Felons, depending on the country and depending on the felony, or people with mental illnesses. You don't give them guns, you don't let them drive, but you let them vote. And there are for sure more crazy people around that are officially registered. People that sit in a car driving, and because somebody honks at them, they get a complete meltdown and get violent. So for me, this is a person that should not be driving and should not be voting. Or like, let's have some therapy or whatever. So it was an interesting topic, because all the speeches and the propaganda is not directed at us, at the educated people. It's always directed to the mob, to the masses, to the people who don't know. It's not that they are stupid, but often they don't have the time to inform themselves. If you work 8, 9, 10 hours a day, and you have a journey of 1 or 2 hours to get to your job and then go back home, um, you literally, your whole life is going to work, going back home, eat something, have a beer, watch TV, go to sleep, and repeat. And unfortunately, this is true for a lot of people all over the world. And I totally understand. You don't want to come home and then start researching some facts or lies or whatever, about anything. You may wanna watch cat videos and distract yourself, and not. You're already so much in reality, and reality sucks, that if you can, you distract yourself, right? We all do that to a certain extent, but obviously for a lot of people who are hardworking people, they just don't have the time. And time is for me, it's the luxurious thing in the world. It's like, fuck expensive watches and bags and cars. Time. If you have time, you're rich. I'm not talking about the unemployed kind of time that you're drinking beer, watching football, and eating pizza. No, that's just wasted time. That's the opposite. I mean time that you focus either on yourself or on your surroundings, which comes to the same thing. If you focus and think about your surroundings, you're gonna come back to yourself anyway, and the other way around, because we are all connected and we don't live alone. Even if we do live alone, our surroundings will impact us. People, physics, geography, politics, all that. It's all one thing. So it was an interesting conversation that we had about the topic with no conclusion, like nobody, there was not like I was for and he was against, or he was for and I was against. We were both on, you know, pros and cons, and we left the topic without any conclusion. But it was still interesting to hear another perspective, and he comes from another country. He has another background than I do, and obviously he works for the government, so he has other insights than I do. But that was interesting. But then we had, and what showed us the local elections here clearly is that people are so easy manipulated that it's scary. So we had then yesterday the results, like they can, because it's all electronic, what neighborhood voted for whom mainly, and then they can break down the neighborhoods to up to like a block. And it's scary shit. A lot of propaganda videos here from politicians where you cannot make this shit up. People dancing dressed, let's say, in green, and then they were singing, yeah, this guy is the best. If you are green, you are happy. If you are red, and then they cut, and red people all dress in red, and they're all sad. If you are red, you are sad. That's all. That's the whole message. So don't vote on me, don't vote on the other guy, because he has a different color. But not like no discussion, no explanation, no proposition, nothing. And even the debates where never anybody would answer any question, they would just generically repeat their over and over and over repeated thing. I'm sure you could like take the audio track away and find some audio tracks from 40 years ago and just underline the video footage with the audio track, and would be the same messages, the same answers, the same blah, blah, blah. So it's annoying. So how do you vote? How do you make a decision? Well, we have some mechanism that we learned in our lifetimes. How do we judge people? So one way to judge people, or to have a tool to foresee how somebody will act in the future, is we look at the past. So what did this person do in the past? What did this person say or do? What do people who know this person from the past say or do? Who is he or she affiliated with, associated with? So let's check all that. And then he said this, but what did he do? So there's a record. So for most people, there is a record. So that's one way. You say, okay, this guy, he always did what he said, or he tried. Sometimes he failed, but he was fighting for it. So the probability that he's gonna at least try to do what he's saying, let's say, is quite high. So if I'm on the level of his propositions, I'm gonna vote for him or her. And the other guy, always blah, 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 nothing ever happens. So you don't vote for him or her. Or they're all like that, so you don't vote at all. And then there's another problem. So if you don't vote at all, also you have no saying in what's going on. And you can say, okay, fuck it, I'm just gonna pay my taxes. I have to pay them anyway. and watch cat videos. You can do that, but then you don't have the right to complain. You don't have the right to sit down with other people and complain about the taxes or about anything because you didn't participate in any way. That's fair too. So then just shut up. That's what I did my whole life. So I did shut up, you know, whatever, I'm not interested because you are helpless anyway, or you feel helpless. And in a way, we are. But you can get involved. You can. And get involved, starting to educate yourself, takes time. It's work. It's not necessarily fun, but you learn a lot about the world, about the history, about yourself. And then you might get to a point where you would be able to have a profound insight into, let's say, the most of the irrelevant topic, like what is a toothpick and how are toothpicks made? What's the process? Who invented them? Where do they come from? And if you really read up on toothpicks for a couple of days, yes, then you can make an opinion about toothpicks because you might just as well know more than anybody else about toothpicks. And this is obviously the same for any other topic, and especially in politics. And one of the best tools that we have, well, tools, is history. And then again, history is always different from a different angle. So you have to check different sources for the same history from a lot of time different countries, different perspective. But it's possible. It's hard work, but it's possible. And then you can have an opinion that is based on something. And then you can have conversations with your social structure, with your social network, with the people around you. And they will know if you do make a good argument, they will realize that you know what you're talking about, and that will have an impact on them. And that will have an impact on who they are voting or if they are voting. So that's how you build it. That's how you participate. You will say, hey, I make no difference, but you do. Everybody does. And if you can convince just one or two people, these people are going to convince other two or three people. That's also a thing, result that was clearly shown from the statistics in this election. There is a group, a rather small group, a movement. It's called MBL. And just by talking and making an objective argument and a rational, having rational discussions about several topics, they were not supporting any of these candidates. They convinced a lot of people to go into a certain kind of direction. And that did work because the difference between the candidates were in the thousands. It's not like one had 100,000 votes more. No, there's somewhere like a couple of thousands away, somewhere even less away. And this is exactly like if you have a nucleus, a social nucleus of like 50 people, and you convince some of them and they convince some of other, 1,000 is nothing, right? If you need like 20, 30,000 votes to get a seat in the local parliament, that's not really much of convincing to do if you do it right. But of course, if you just do a video dancing dressed in green and saying that you are happy because you're green and the others are yellow and they're sad, that will appeal to a certain kind of audience, that they by themselves are not peer leaders, they are not influencing other people, they are getting influenced. So where we have to go, and again, regardless what country, all over the world, is to be, if we want to be part, or if we want to have a say in anything, it's so cute, is do that. You don't have to go into politics like officially, you don't have to even vote. Educate yourself, research, read up if you can afford it, if you have the time, better yourself and be valuable to your community, be of value to your peers. And you can do that by helping someone to move, and you can do that by pointing out to somebody that whatever was said is maybe not true because, and then you bring your argument, which will be based on historical, researchable, checked facts. Let's put it that way. And that's how you make an impact. Wow, okay. This should be supposed to be a fun, satirical YouTube stream, whatever. So I don't know. I have no script. Well, I guess I just said what I wanted to say. So how much time has passed? I have no idea how long we are on the air. Let's watch some cat videos. I need 2 coffees to be ready. So I had one. This is my second one. So maybe all I was saying is bullshit anyway. I'm gonna have 35 degrees Celsius today. I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, like 80 or something. So I'm gonna prepare for a nice, hot, sunny day and research on cat videos and silly kittens. All right, so I'm gonna leave it. Good day, everybody. Have fun. And yeah, some people, so nobody commented, that's okay, but I got some emails. So weirdly, some people prefer to send an email with comments. That's okay. And if I gathered enough, I'm gonna make a session where I just answer, I promise, even the stupidest question. Okay? Bye-bye.